Today, we're going to be talking specifically about a great new feature that's just landed at Cushon, shareholder voting, which allows you to have a say on how companies you are invested in deal with environment, social and governance issues that are important to you. For instance, it could be climate change, animal welfare or gender equality, just to name a couple of examples. This new feature will also just really help you understand exactly where your money is being invested and how it can become a force for good. We recently partnered with a company called Temello to make this all happen, and I'm really pleased to have Georgia from Temello join me here today, and I'm going to pass over to her very shortly to properly introduce herself. But before we do get started, just a little bit of housekeeping to be aware of. Everyone is on mute throughout, but you can use the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen to ask any questions, and we'll also leave that open at the end as well if you have any left then. We are going to push out a few polls and a handout or two. Again, they're going to pop up in the chat box, so please do interact with us as much as you like, get involved with the polls, ask questions, give feedback. We're always very happy to help and hear what you guys have to say. Finally, but most importantly, please know that we can't offer financial advice. So this webinar is purely educational. Before I hand over, just quickly whiz through the agenda. So it'll probably take about 15-20 minutes. So George is going to talk a little bit about Temello and what they're all about and where they've come from. I'm then going to talk about the options you have with Cushon to invest ethically. And then I'll go on to talk a little bit about our new feature, the Cushon shareholder voting. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the why bother and then some question time as well. So without further ado, I will hand over.
Thanks very much, Sophie. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you here today. Thanks for coming and listening to the webinar. I'm going to tell you a bit about Temello and the story that we've been on to get here. So Temello was established at Cambridge, where me and my two co-founders, who you can see on the slides, campaigned for Cambridge to invest their £6 billion endowment fund more sustainably. I was studying climate change at the time, and the university was investing loads of money into cancer research, carbon capture technology, human rights research, all those incredible projects with dramatic positive impact that you can imagine. However, the £6 billion savings, the endowment that Cambridge had invested into the stock market to fund all of this great work was really, really opaque. We didn't know if that money was invested in fossil fuels or renewables, tobacco companies or healthcare companies, human rights laggards or leading social companies. What we really wanted to do was make sure the university endowment, made up of our own uni fees, remember, was investing in line with the university's mission, which was essentially to build a better future for everyone. Solving this problem at the university whilst we were there highlighted an even bigger one to us. Millions of ordinary people like you and me contribute trillions to our investment system through our own workplace pensions, our ISAs and other investment products, just like you do with Cushon. Yet most of us have no visibility where our money is going and no voice at the many companies our money is funding. So we founded Temello to change this, to address this problem. Our software, which is now built inside Cushon's app, shows you what social or environmental issues the companies you are invested in are facing. And it lets you voice your own opinion about what that company should do about the issue. So the investment professionals who are speaking to those companies and working on your behalf can represent your values. The topics for these votes that you'll find inside Cushon are wide-ranging. Examples are antibiotic use at McDonald's, sugar policy at Coca-Cola, gender equality at Amazon, climate change at BP, human rights at Google. And all of those votes are incredibly important. As indirect shareholders in these companies, the CEO and the board really answer to us. We can use shareholder votes to change companies for good, forever. And with that, I'll hand back over to Sophie to tell you about the partnership.
Thanks, Georgia. So our partnership with Temello was an absolute no-brainer. It's always been very much part of Cushon's DNA to constantly look at how we can give people choice when it comes to their investments while not compromising on their returns. But also just looking for really kind of clever ways through our technology to make it really easy for you to make decisions aligned to your beliefs and really just kind of give you back the power. So this journey started with our ethical Cushon mix, which we launched back in October 2019. We know investing can be really confusing and really overwhelming. So we initially addressed this by creating easy-to-use pre-made investment portfolios based on risk tolerance, typically made up of 2 to 3 funds, ensuring diversification, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. After some time passed, we realised that although this was great and really helped demystify the investment world for a lot of people, it didn't quite hit the mark. And after doing some initial research, we actually discovered that 1 in 3 individuals aged between 18 and 35 wanted to know exactly where their money was being invested and if it was aligned to certain factors such as climate change or diversity. So then came ethical Cushon mix. So ethical Cushon mix is where Cushon's algorithm filters out any funds not marked as ethical. This means all funds in the ethical Cushon mixes will have been marked as ethical by the fund manager that is aligned to ESG, so environmental social governance. Next came our net zero pension. So in light of the Paris Agreement, many pension providers have committed to getting to a net zero standard by 2050, but that's 30 years away. So in typical Cushon style, we knew something had to be done sooner. So back in January, we launched the world's first net zero pension, which brings me very nicely on to our newest and I'd say most exciting feature, our shareholder voting and why we're here today. So over the past few months, we've been working really hard with the Temello team to develop shareholder voting in the Cushon app. So companies your ISA is invested in are regularly holding shareholder meetings to vote on how these companies deal with ESG issues, such as animal welfare, climate change, gender equality. And now you, as an indirect shareholder, have the opportunity to have your say. So through the Cushon app, you will view a list of global issues related to ESG policy, such as human rights, equality, environment. And there's a little snapshot on the screen here, so you can see all the different ones listed out. And you have the ability within the app to select the topics that interest you the most, and then you can change these at any time. By all means, you don't have to specify any at all, and you can include all. I personally do, just because I'm interested. And please do be aware that this feature is only available through the Cushon app. So if you do have a Cushon account or are about to open one and don't have the app, please do go and download from the Apple Store or Google Play Store so you can experience this and get involved. Okay, so following on, the app will then send out alerts for up and coming shareholder proposals that relate to those selected interests that you've made, just making sure that you never miss out. And you'll also get an email from us as well to just let you know. Eligibility for voting is only based on you having holdings in that relevant fund. So if within your investment ISA, you are in a particular fund, then you're eligible for voting on ESG resolutions for any company that that fund's invested in. There's an example seen on the screen here. So again, you can see that journey. Should Shell set new targets to limit global warming, it gives all the granular detail and the information there. You get to vote in favour, for or against, and then you get a little cartwheel, congrats for voting at the end. So I'm sure a lot of you on here are thinking why do this? Well, it's just a really great way to get involved and also feel more engaged with your investments, find out exactly where your money is invested and in turn just feel more connected. Your vote, along with all the other votes, are collated and then sent to the fund manager, who ultimately holds the actual shareholding voting right. And based on all the votes received, the fund manager decides how to use those votes at the annual general meeting. So you in turn are influencing how the fund manager votes. Fund managers will feed back outcomes to investors through the Cushon app. So again, you'll always be engaged and you'll log in, you'll get an email from us to let you know when those vote results are in, so you can log in at any time and see what the outcome was. On that note, I'm going to hand back to Georgia.
Great, thank you, Sophie. I would say the most important reason, though, to get involved is the positive impact that you can have. So while you only have one vote on each shareholder resolution, the rest of Cushon's community and other ISA and pension investors around the UK will be voting too. And together, you have well over £3.5 trillion invested in the system. So that's a really powerful sum of money when acting in unison. All significant shifts in the way global systems work have started with a few and grown to many, and you as Cushon users are right here at the start of that change, using money, the most powerful tool at your disposal, to create a more positive future for yourself financially, but also for the environment and the communities that you love and depend on. So I wanted to also leave you with an example of real world impact. On the left here, we're talking about Procter & Gamble shareholders who asked them to improve their reporting on deforestation. Specifically, they wanted Procter & Gamble, P&G, to tell them more about what they were doing around palm kernel oil and forest pulp, which is found in some of their products like Bounty paper towels. The Tumelo voters on this issue voted in favour of the resolution, and they were heard by some of the largest fund managers in the world. So BlackRock, for example, the world's largest asset manager and Procter & Gamble's second largest shareholder, voted in favour of the resolution, after years of pressure from NGOs to stand up for this issue as a shareholder. Overall, other shareholders around the world voted in favour at P&G's AGM. So now Procter & Gamble will need to change their deforestation policy and create a new report. A great leap forward for biodiversity, but also the people that depend on those forests as part of Procter & Gamble's supply chain. We've seen loads of other wins this year, with shareholders voting for airlines to go greener, for plastic manufacturers to address ocean plastic, and CEOs to be paid more fairly in comparison to the rest of their workforce. This happened at Starbucks last year, for example. So as you can see, you really can have an impact by using your power as an investor. And I hope that you therefore enjoy using the voting feature that's now inside Cushon's app.